Number 10. Lady Deathstrike. I said I was limiting myself to villains who first appeared in Alpha Flight, and this one just barely counts. Yuriko Oyama first appeared as a sympathetic character in Daredevil number 197, where her father was fixing Bullseye's paralysis with adamantium. After her father's death, she decided to continue his work and began tracking down Wolverine in order to remove his adamantium skeleton. She made her first appearance as a villain, going by the name Lady Deathstrike, in Alpha Flight number 33, where she was using a specialized katana to destroy Wolverine. She was the first supervillain who Heather Hudson's Vindicator ever defeated in battle. Deathstrike would go on to be a constant foil to Wolverine and grew more and more powerful, receiving razor fingernails, super strength, speed, and agility, as well as a powerful cybernetic healing factor. But in this first appearance, she is at the beginning of her journey, and has no powers, and therefore ranks at the bottom of this list. Number 9. Sasquatch. Walter Lankowski was a brilliant and athletic student at Penn State on a football scholarship when he struck up a friendship with a fellow student named Bruce Banner. The two went their separate ways, but Banner inspired a fascination with gamma radiation in Walter. Walter became a player for the Green Bay Packers before retiring to finish his graduate studies at MIT. Fascinated by the Hulk, Walter decided to conduct a similar, though more controlled, gamma experiment on himself. This transformed him into the incredibly strong creature known as Sasquatch. Although at first glance he seems to simply be a knockoff of Hulk, due to the help of his teammate Snowbird, Walter is able to keep the beast at bay and retain his genius intellect, when in his Sasquatch form, something the Hulk is only occasionally capable of in the comics. This makes him more than a blunt instrument, often helping the team just as much as a genius scientist. Number 8. Delphine Courtney. When James Hudson found out the geo-exploration suit he was developing for Amcam Oil was going to be sold as a weapon to the Americans, he destroyed the plans for the suit and took the helmet, using it to craft his Guardian suit and become a superhero. His boss, Jerome Jackson, was blamed for this failure, and he began a downward spiral that ended with him broke and paralyzed. He went to the evil Roxxon Corporation, and they gave him the means to get his revenge and destroy Alpha Flight. They also gave him a secretary named Delphine Courtney. She was really a robot named MX39147 with heightened strength and durability, as well as superior senses and extremely high intelligence, and an open-ended deductive capability similar to really good intuition. Most importantly, she has the ability to subtly manipulate the feelings of others, which she used to stoke the resentments of former members of the Alpha Flight training program Gamma Flight in order to recruit them to the villain team Omega Flight. After Jackson and Hudson died, she reformed Omega Flight and disguised herself as a resurrected Hudson, but was destroyed by Madison Jeffries, who could control machines with his mind. Number 7. Snowbird. In an effort to save the Earth from the mystical great beasts, the Inuit goddess of the Northern Lights, Nelvana, mated with a human in order to create a daughter, Naria, who came to the Earth to protect Canada from the evil great beasts. She took on the secret identity of a RCMP officer named Anne Mackenzie, and soon joined the original Alpha Flight team as Snowbird. Snowbird's most well-known ability is to transform herself into any animal found in northern Canada, taking on its mass and strength, as well as any of the animal's other abilities. Some of her transformations include polar bears, owls, and whales. She can also turn into mystical Canadian creatures, giving her the power to become the dangerous and incredibly powerful Wendigo. Beyond these more well-known powers, she also possesses super strength in her human form, as well as post-cognition, which is the ability to see events that have transpired in the past at a given location. In Snowbird's case, she can see up to 6 hours in the past. Although this weakness no longer applies, Snowbird used to grow weak and sick if she was taken outside of Canada's borders. Number 6. Scramble Omega. On the subject of Madison Jeffries, he and his brother Lionel believed in the American cause in Vietnam, and like several Canadians of the time did, actually joined the American military to fight in Vietnam. He was a mutant with the power to manipulate flesh, bone, and other organic components, and served as a medic, but the war drove him insane and he was put in a mental institution. He escaped and became a villain called Scramble, who used his power to turn people into monstrous deformed creatures. His brother made him use his powers to fix his own brain, and he reversed the damage and became Alpha's medic. It later turned out that he was actually still insane, and he used his powers to merge with Alpha Team member Roger Box, becoming Omega, now being able to also alter his own physical form. When Box tried to resist, Jeffries lobotomized him. The purple girl, who was an Alphan at the time, got him to stop his rampage, and his brother Madison was forced to kill him. Number 5. Madison Jeffries. Another mutant member of Alpha Flight, Madison Jeffries served in the Vietnam War as a mechanic before returning home to Canada. He has the ability to alter and restructure inorganic materials with his mind. He uses this to create weapons and machines that help him in battle. When he returned home, he began suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, which caused him to lose control of his powers and take over a small town. Wolverine was sent in to deal with the situation and helped Jeffries before he was recruited into the Alpha Flight training program, Gamma Flight. He eventually joined the main team, even having a relationship with Vindicator while her husband Guardian was presumed dead. Jeffries' powers extend beyond simply being able to control machines. He can actually phase his body and consciousness into machines, which he used on several occasions to merge with the Box mech suit to heighten his strength in combat. Number 4. The new Weapon X. While compiling this list, I wanted to include villains from all the different eras of Alpha Flight, but honestly, most of the villains featured in volumes 2 and 3 of the series just aren't impressive enough to rank on the list, with the exception of the new Weapon X. When a tourist from New Zealand was touring the facilities of the Canadian government's Superhuman Affairs Branch, Department H, he was kidnapped by the evil Dr. Horatio Huxley, who was trying to revive the Weapon X program, which gave Wolverine his claws so many years ago. The Doctor infected the tourist with an extremely deadly bacteria called Theta Gene 24, which mutated him and caused his mind and body to combine with the bacteria, creating a new personality and being. This Weapon X wears a containment suit to keep the bacteria cooled to prevent its reproduction. It was capable of absorbing electricity and had a powerful exoskeleton, sharp claws, and a jetpack. The combined might of both the new and original Alpha Flight was not enough to defeat Weapon X, but in the end, his goal turned out not to be the destruction of the world, but of himself, and he took his own life with the only thing capable of killing him: a nuclear bomb. Number 3. Puck. In his original appearances, Eugene Judd was simply a little person who had incredible acrobatic abilities and fighting skills. When John Byrne left the series, it was revealed that he had actually once been an extremely large man who was attacked by an evil sorcerer. This resulted in him being given a lengthened lifespan, but losing his height as a result. Puck's compression grants him super strength, being able to lift 10 tons and move at superhuman speed. One of the most beloved members of Alpha Flight, Puck is considered the heart of the team. He was killed by the Collective. Puck was sent to Hell, where he fought his way all to the top, becoming the ruler of Hell for a time, before returning to life to help save the lives of his friends. Number 2. Dream Queen. The daughter of the Fear Lord Nightmare, the Dream Queen is the ruler of a realm called Live World. She is able to shape this world to her every whim, but she still desires to escape this realm. When the Alpha Flight member Pathway, who can open portals to other dimensions, came across Live World, she was attacked by the Dream Queen, causing her to transport her team to the realm for help. They tried to fight Dream Queen, but she was able to create as many dream demons as she needed, as it was her realm. Puck transported the team back to Earth, but accidentally took the Queen with them. She was weaker in this realm, but she could still alter perceptions and send dream demons after people. She was defeated and sent back to her own realm, but she implanted the team with psychic energy, which caused them to experience extreme trauma before they met up again, causing the combined energy to unleash her again. But she was again defeated and banished to Live World. Number 1. Shaman. Dr. Michael Two Young Men was Canada's most brilliant surgeon before losing his wife in surgery caused him to recommit his life to learning the mystic ways of his people. He eventually became Shaman, one of the original members of Alpha Flight. The source of his powers is a mystical pouch which contains anything he needs at any given time to perform his spells. He has been shown to be able to control plants as well as fire and the weather. He can also convene with spirits and animals, as well as project his astral form in a similar way as Doctor Strange. Shaman is incredibly smart, which makes him use these powers in really clever ways, making them even more effective. For example, when Guardian was almost murdered in X-Men Unlimited number 45, Shaman had the spirits of the air keep feeding air to the Guardian's brain so that they could preserve his brain functions until they could get him proper medical attention. Number 10. Northstar and Aurora. Look at me, cheating right out the gate. Northstar and Aurora are mutant twins who have the same powers, which is why they are listed together. Jean-Marie and Jean-Paul Barbier were separated early in life when their parents died in a car accident. Jean-Paul ended up in foster homes before eventually becoming an Olympic skier, while Jean-Marie ended up at a strict Catholic girls' boarding school, which was so traumatic that she ended up developing dissociative identity disorder, creating an alternate personality known as Aurora. Each twin possesses super speed as well as the ability to fly. Because some readers are likely more familiar with Northstar due to his time on the X-Men, away from his sister, they may be surprised to learn that when the twins link hands, they produce an intensely bright light that can be used to blind their enemies, making them even more powerful as a pair. Number 9. Bedlam. Bedlam was an inmate of a Nova Scotian prison who had latent superpowers. When Alpha's leader, James Hudson, was trying to find superpowered beings for the first iteration of the team, he offered Bedlam a way to unlock his powers and redeem himself in order to serve his country. Bedlam got the powers but lied about being reformed and went on a rampage. He was able to use his telepathic powers to pit Alpha against a team called the Derangers, wanting to use whichever team won as his servants and army once he took over the world. In addition to his telepathy, he was also capable in telekinesis and had powerful psionic powers. He could wipe people's minds, leaving them brain dead, which he tried to do to Vindicator, forcing her to kill him in Alpha Flight number 53. Number 8. Thunder. This one's a bit of a journey, so stick with me. In World War II, Lewis Sadler became Major Maple Leaf, who was the Canadian equivalent to Captain America. He had limited invulnerability as well as super strength, which made him a true force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Many years later, his son, Lewis Sadler Jr., would take on the Major Maple Leaf mantle. When the original Alpha Flight team was kidnapped by a group of aliens, Sasquatch recruited the new Major Maple Leaf to join a new version of the team in an effort to mount a rescue mission. It was assumed that he had the same powers as his father, as well as power blasts and the ability to fly. But it turned out that the new Major didn't actually have any powers. Not that he would ever admit it. No, it turned out that the one with powers was actually his magical horse, Thunder. Thunder the Super Equine has all the aforementioned powers as well as extremely high intelligence for a horse. So like the equivalent intelligence of a normal person. He can also communicate basic messages to the Major through meaningful gazes. Thunder is pretty chill about Major Maple Leaf stealing his, well, thunder, and remained Sadler's faithful steed for the duration of the character's run. Number 7. Tanarack. The alpha known as Snowbird is an Inuit demigoddess who can transform into any animal found in the north and has been sent to Earth to protect it from the mythical great beasts who are returning to Earth after thousands of years. There are 7 beasts in total who gave Snowbird and Alpha varying degrees of trouble, but one of the most difficult to deal with was Tanarack. When Walter Lankowski performed a gamma experiment on himself, hoping to replicate the powers of the Hulk, he did so at a base in the Arctic to avoid anyone getting hurt. When he performed the experiment, the thinner walls of reality in the Arctic caused the spirit of Tanarack to enter him, transforming him into Sasquatch, the strongest member of Alpha Flight. Tanarack eventually managed to take control of Walter and use him to attack his friends, and Snowbird was forced to kill him in order to destroy the beast. They eventually got Walter's soul back by retrieving it from the realm of the beasts. Number 6. Talisman. Elizabeth Two Young Men is the estranged daughter of Shaman, who reluctantly joined Alpha Flight and began working with her father. She eventually reached into the Shaman's mystical pouch and found the Coronet of Enchantment, transforming Elizabeth into Talisman. Although she cannot remove the tiara without suffering excruciating pain, it grants her the ability to cast several impressive spells. Some of these spells give her the abilities of levitation, teleportation, and matter manipulation, just to name a few. Although her father can ask spirits to act on his behalf, the Coronet also gives Talisman the power to make spirits do what she wants. Number 5. Tundra. Another of the great beasts who Alpha defeated all the way back in Alpha Flight number 1 was Tundra the land beast. He was summoned to Earth by Snowbird's insane father and began absorbing the land of Canada, becoming a giant monster who got bigger and stronger with every step he took, and could hurl the rocks that made him up with great force at the Alphans. He could also control the creatures of the north, sending massive clouds of mosquitoes after the heroes. As if that wasn't bad enough, hitting him with tech hurt him, but as he was one with the land, it risked shattering all of Canada in an earthquake. The heroes were able to defeat him by controlling the rain and making it come down in a torrent which mimicked the effects of erosion and broke Tundra up, sending him back to the realm of the great beasts.
Number 4. Guardian, the leader of Alpha Flight. James McDonald Hudson was a scientist working for the AmCam Oil Company to develop an exosuit to make oil exploration more efficient. When he discovered that AmCam was planning to sell the suit to the Americans to use as a weapon, he destroyed the prototype and went to work for the Canadian government, developing his supersuit and going through various different hero names before settling on Guardian. His power suit acts as a powerful armor while providing him with force field protection. The armor also gives him the ability to fly and shoot concussive electromagnetic beams. Although he does not have super strength, he can use a graviton beam to lift heavy objects. He can also be propelled westward at the same speed as the rotation of the Earth, making him appear to teleport. When he was presumed dead, his wife Heather wore a similar suit, taking on the name Vindicator, leading the team in his absence. It was later revealed that Guardian had been rescued by the alien race, the Quarillan, who saved his life. They mistakenly thought the suit was part of him and turned him into a cyborg, making all of the suit's powers a part of him.
Number 3. Lan the Sorcerer. Lan is an ancient mystical being who is intent on helping humanity destroy itself so he can transform Earth into one of the twisted realms. He appears on Earth to attempt this once every 10,000 years, and it is the duty of the Talisman to fight him and banish him back to his own realm. When he fought Alpha Flight, he trapped them in a maze of dimensions. While they were trapped, he manipulated the minds of the Canadian government to hate Alpha Flight and form a different hero team, Gamma Flight. Alpha and Gamma and the Canadian military eventually banded together and fought the demons that Lan summoned, while Talisman, Northstar Aurora, and Doctor Strange battled Lan and sent him back to his home plane, where he cannot cause any more trouble for about 10,000 years.
Number 2. Marina. Marina was found as an egg by the Smallwood family in Newfoundland, who raised the young alien as their own before she was recruited to train with Gamma Flight, eventually graduating to Alpha Flight in their first issue. She soon left the team to pursue a relationship with Namor the Submariner, who she eventually married. As an amphibian, Marina is able to thrive both above and below the water, being able to swim at a top speed of 51 knots. At times, her alien instincts would make her become bloodthirsty and violent, causing her hands to transform into deadly talons. Although not one of the most powerful members of the team, she eventually transformed into a Leviathan, a giant sea snake that could shoot beams from her eyes.
Number 1. The Master of the World. By far, the villain that has given Alpha Flight the most trouble over the years and can be described as their arch nemesis is the Master of the World. He was an early human living nearly 40,000 years ago, who was rejected by his tribe for being cruel and violent. He wandered the Arctic following an instinct that was drawing him further and further north. He came across the long-crashed ship of the Plodex. The ship captured him, kept him alive, but dissected him and studied him, absorbing him into the ship. After 30,000 years, his mind overcame that of the ship and constructed a new body for himself, and he became the Master of the World. He tangled with Alpha several times, once causing Marina to experience more pain than any living being had felt in 40,000 years. He once took over Canada, assimilating some of the heroes to his control and causing irreparable harm to several Alphans' lives. He also messes around with other hero groups, having posed as Canada's representative in the Alpha Flight Board of Directors that oversaw the Alpha Flight space program, and was a key player in Civil War II, going after the leader of the revamped program, Captain Marvel. He has also fought the Champions and is currently the ruler of Weird World. He has enhanced strength, speed, agility, and reflexes in addition to his incredible intellect and his suit of armor, which protects him as well as stores and channels energy. He often uses a metal staff which shoots powerful energy beams, but listing his powers doesn't really do justice to the cruelty and sadistic evil that he has put the team through over the years. Number 10. 10. Radius. Jared Corbo is a mutant who was raised with his half-brother Adrian in the East Ontario town of Orlew at an orphanage called Hull House, or as the orphans nicknamed it, Hell House. Unbeknownst to most of the residents, Hull House was actually being operated by Department H as a way to find and recruit members for their various superhero teams, sometimes waiting until the orphans were of age, and sometimes having them adopted by the department so they could participate while underage. Which sounds bad, but when you think about it, is pretty much exactly what Professor X is doing. Jared's mutant powers allow him to create a force field which he is incapable of shutting off. While this protected him from harm, it also meant that he could not touch or be touched by others, and was unable to effectively shower and couldn't eat without wearing a special eating filter which converted the food to a form that could get through the field, allowing Jared to get the necessary nutrients he needed to survive. Jared can also extend the field in order to use it offensively by either crushing things in a move he calls the Nutcracker Special, or by creating powerful ranged attacks. Number 9. Wind Shear. Colin Ashworth is a mutant with the power to transform air into hard air. He transforms this hardened air into various shapes which he can use for both attack and defense when in battle. He has used this ability to create concussive blasts which he uses to attack his enemies and to fly. He has also used this hard air to create shields and battering rams, as well as hard air bullets and needles that he launches at his foes. While all of this is useful, his most devastating attack is his ability to alter the gases in a person's body, causing their blood to become as thick as glue. Although he started as an employee of the villainous Roxxon Corporation, he eventually became disillusioned with the violent acts they were forcing him to perform and quit so that he could join Alpha Flight. When Alpha Flight disbanded, Wind Shear retired to England, where he began selling sculptures and trinkets that he created with his powers. He eventually became bored with this simple life and adopted the new superhero persona of Chinook. Number 8. Manbot. When the secretive and often shady branch of the Canadian government known as Department H gained access to the Box robot, they took one of their employees, named Bernie Lachesnais, and merged him with the robot. This resulted in most of Bernie's personality being lost, and he became Manbot. As a computer-machine-human hybrid, Manbot has several abilities that make him a valuable member of the team. Not only can he fly and process an enormous amount of data really quick, but he's also able to shoot both missiles and energy blasts at his enemies and incapacitate his foes with a nerve toxin. As he is mostly a machine, he is also immune to mind control, as he showed in Alpha Flight Volume 2, Issue 4, when he was the only member of the team who was able to resist the mind control powers of the villain Mesmero. Number 7. Yukon Jack. When Walter Lankowski, aka Sasquatch, was forced to assemble a new Alpha Flight team when the original squad was kidnapped by aliens, he approached the heir to the throne of a secret civilization in the village of Chemteron. Yuko Tujak Zurgi Mozo Ada showed no interest in leaving his home, but Walter bribed the chief to drug his son and allow him to take him to the outside world so he could become more worldly. Nicknamed Yukon Jack, he joined the newly formed team, and using his considerable combat skills, in addition to his powers, which allow him to telekinetically control the bone pieces covering his body, he is also able to survive in sub-zero temperatures and can cast light from his hands. Number 6. Centennial. Ruby Princeton III was in a coma for 15 years until Sasquatch, while trying to find members for his new Alpha Flight team, noticed his unique biorhythmic signature and revived him. At some point in the years he was in a coma, Rudy had developed superpowers. Although the 96-year-old originally wanted no part of the superhero lifestyle, he soon found that with his new powers, living a normal life would be quite dull, and joined the team, becoming the Centennial. As a retired police officer, Rudy has acquired a wealth of experience in combat, which perfectly complements his superhuman strength and speed, invulnerability, flight, and heat vision. Basically, he's a geriatric Superman. Number 5. Wire. Wire's true identity is still unknown, but what we do know is that he started out as a genetically enhanced assassin with enhanced strength, speed, agility, and reflexes, as well as the ability to launch and control tendrils of inorganic fiber from his body. This, combined with his incredible fighting skills, weapons knowledge, and claws, made him a dangerous person to have as an enemy. He was hired to create a group of superhuman killers for the Secret Empire, but he eventually felt remorseful for his actions and began hunting down the creatures he helped create. This brought brought him into conflict with Alpha Flight, as one of these creatures, Wildchild, was operating as a member of the team called Weapon Omega. They eventually came to an uneasy truce, and Wire joined the team for a time, although tensions between him and his teammates always remained high. Number 4. Box. Roger Box was a gifted inventor who was confined to a wheelchair after both of his legs were amputated. Not wanting to be limited to his chair, he created the Box robot, which he developed with the help of James Hudson, aka Guardian. Box operates with the use of a helmet which projects Roger's consciousness into the robot. The robot is incredibly strong and essentially invulnerable, and is able to fly, and is equipped with powerful blasters. Box was recruited to Beta Flight, the group trainees are put in when they are just about to graduate to Alpha Flight, but lost out on his chance to be a hero when Pierre Elliott Trudeau defunded Department H. Roger was recruited by the evil Jerome Jackson to join his supervillain team, Omega Flight, a group dedicated to killing James Hudson. Roger joined the group hoping to infiltrate them and help save Hudson. Jackson discovered his duplicitous nature and stole the Box robot to fight Guardian in the infamous Alpha Flight number 12, which resulted in both Guardian and Jackson seemingly being killed. Roger later joined Alpha Flight, creating an advanced version of the Box that didn't require a control helmet and that the user could instead phase into. Box eventually suffered a psychotic break, which resulted in him being lobotomized by the villainous Scramble and eventually killed by fellow teammate Madison Jeffries. Number 3. Wildchild. Kyle Gibney was the subject of several experiments by the Secret Empire, who were trying to create the perfect killer. Although he was already a mutant with a freakish appearance, the experiments made Kyle a feral beast of a man, who eventually rebelled and destroyed the Empire's headquarters. He was later found by Department H and placed in the entry-level training group, Gamma Flight. When the group disbanded, he was one of the people recruited for Jerome Jackson's Omega Flight, and was one of the enemies that Alpha Flight fought and captured in Alpha Flight number 12. He was later pardoned by the government and allowed to join a government-sanctioned Gamma Flight after Alpha Flight had gone private and were assumed dead. The two teams eventually combined, and his teammate Nemesis helped him overcome his bestial nature and took away his deformities, and he became Weapon Omega. His animalistic nature and appearance soon returned, and he quit the team, becoming Wildchild once again, and eventually joining the Weapon X program. Like similar mutants, like Wolverine and Sabretooth, Wildchild has a powerful healing factor as well as enhanced strength, speed, and stamina, as well as enhanced hearing and sense of smell, and razor-sharp claws and fangs. Number 2. Persuasion. When the evil Purple Man, Zebediah Kilgrave, fell in love with a woman named Melanie, he used his mind control powers to make Melanie fall in love with him, and they spent the next few months together. When Kilgrave released her from his control, she did what many Americans only threaten to do when they lose an election, and moved to Canada. She gave birth to Kilgrave's daughter, Kara, who seemed like a normal girl with a normal complexion. When she was a teenager, however, her skin turned purple, and she began producing the pheromones that allowed her to control people. Like her father, Kara can force people to do whatever she wants due to the pheromones that she is secreting. Rather than become a supervillain, she chose to use these powers for good, being recruited to Beta Squad before eventually graduating to the main team. She was briefly coerced into villainy when the evil Master of the World brainwashed her and made her join his evil team, Alpha Strike. After this brief stint, she eventually joined the new Thunderbolts. Number 1. Vindicator. When she was first introduced in X-Men number 139, Heather Hudson seemed like little more than Guardian's supportive wife, but the more we learned about her in subsequent appearances, the more integral to the team she became. When James Hudson was working for Amcam Oil on his geological exploration suit, Heather McNeil was working as his boss, Jerome Jackson's secretary. She was smitten with James, and when he learned that his suit was going to be sold as a weapon and quit, she resigned too, being impressed with his strong morals. It was her idea to approach Department H for help, which led to the creation of Alpha Flight. When the team was defunded, it was Heather that brought them back together to battle the evil Tundra. She continued on in a support role before her husband was seemingly killed. In order to carry on his legacy, she was given a similar battlesuit and became the new leader of the team, Vindicator. From humble beginnings, she has managed to become one of Canada's greatest heroes. In Alpha Flight Volume 2, she was given a new suit which gave her the added ability to control volcanic and seismic activity.